Welcome to Focus on Liberia. I am their correspondent, Edward Amara, staying in West Africa, Kenema City, Sierra Leone. Welcome to this all important news forum. We are happy to give you regular updates on the event that happened into Africa, their effects on the continent, and we are also happy to inform you on the daily developments on the continent, irrespective of whatsoever news that may happen. We focus on Africa, or focus on Liberia. West African correspondent Edward Amara normally comes to this latest development on the continent. We know that we owe you a lot. We appreciate your wider listening skills, and we also highly take into consideration most of your comment given. I'm sorry for the past one or two shows when we are having an audio in terms of the commenting. It is neither my fault. Sometimes it is because of the network system that we normally use in Africa. Sometimes we say most of the things are actually faulted into Africa, and sometimes our network is not good. So if you are communicating at the background, you may start to hear other noise, maybe the volume, or sometimes even the clearness of the audio poses problem. However, I am here to give you a brief update on the continent. Let's first visit West Africa. I'm speaking of Nigeria. The security situation in Nigeria is deteriorating at a faster rate. Even when Asiwaju Bola Ahmed Tinubu has not assumed office, we have had threats from various wings, threats from the army that people have the intention maybe to throw the country into pandemonium when Bola Ahmed Tinubu slated inauguration is on the 29th of May 2023. However, the military have strictly warned that such attempt is actually punishable by death, and the opposition is claiming that, or the oppositions are claiming that, a threat from any person within the Nigerian society will not deter them. They are not going to be intimidated, molested, or harassed. And of late, Peter Obi have said they are putting or mounting pressure on him for him to depart from the country, but he's definitely not going to leave. Amid those things, now we have seen in Benue State, barbarism is on the rise, brutality is on the rise, mutilation, annihilation, indiscriminately killing of innocent Nigerians at their own will is definitely becoming a problem for the society. On Wednesday, gunmen attacked a village in Benue State in northwestern Nigeria, slating, macheting people, one is behind them, even on the farms, killing them indiscriminately for reasons best known to themselves. And throughout the presidency of Muhammadu Buhari, the headmen were on the rise, killing people in the name of grassland. And even when Bola Ahmed Tinubu has won another Muslim or coming from a southwestern state, that is in Lagos, nothing has actually been changed. Even though it's a continuation of system, nothing has actually been changed. So the headmen are on it. They kill over 49 people, the latest body being discovered. Although there was no reported, but people we have been slain to death, macheted, annihilated. They have a lot of people mutilated for best reason known to themselves. They normally invade villages with motorbikes. They come in with AK-47s. And unfortunately, the Nigerian military and policemen are not almost found in all sections. And they really know that places like Benue, the Niger Delta states are almost at a risk. We had death normally occur orchestrated by citizens of Nigeria. Maybe this is a very big show given Bola Ahmed Tinubu has not even taken over the office. Series of incidents have been reported, and his election came in as a very controversial one. And we all know this Nigerian society is seated on the time bomb. Watching that Nigerian population is over 200 million. Should incidents like that continue to exhibit themselves, we are afraid for the worst. And of late, their former governor said that Nigeria is now a deeply divided society more than 50 years back, more than the time that the Biafran War was fought. said now the country have been divided based on religious and ethnicity or sentiment, and that one is very perfect. I think Africa should try all costs to avoid themselves involved into political crisis like this. We are one person from the same society, we assume that this person is an enemy. People have been killed, people have been mutilated, people have been raped, people have been taken for ransom. Yes, the Nigerian society has totally become ungovernable. Speaking of that, you watch at Bola Asiwaju Bola Ahmed Tinubu, so old. Is he actually strong enough to govern the Nigerian society? I totally disagree. Does he have that political mojo? He does. But what about the physicality? The president's body language need to speak. But the man is sick and he requires medical attention. According to popular saying, his so-called holiday in Paris, in London, and finally in Saudi Arabia, where he will be going on pilgrimage, they are saying that it is a mere maneuver or excuse for him to seek medical attention. And even during the campaign, even when he was elected, given the candidacy to run for the APC, we also saw a very weak man trying to celebrate. He could not even celebrate his victory with that type of strength, with that type of power, with that type of excellence in behavior. It wasn't so. Even when he was dancing buga, you could see the exhaustion in the man's face. So we are afraid, but Nigeria, looking at the prevailing circumstances, with the type of leadership that are coming into power, I perfectly agree that Bola Ahmed Tinubu has the mentality to rule Nigeria, because he's a seasoned politician, maybe even seasoned than Atiku and Peter. But unfortunately, he does not have that strength to rule Nigeria. Who knows who will be leading Nigeria? And still Buhari is expected to have a very greater say into the government, because Bola Ahmed Tinubu had a lot to say when Buhari was leading. That was why Buhari allowed him to quietly, carefully, and excellently defeat his VP, who was at his running. Maybe it was like a mere reward for this. Now, Asiwaju Bola Ahmed Tinubu is on the helm of affairs, but unfortunately, Nigeria is soundly deteriorating society. So we are afraid, but Africa is definitely alarmed. I think we are calling upon the AU, UN, and other places to carefully intervene into Nigeria's situation. We need others. We need to Nigeria. They have economic, they have religious, and they have the ethnic crisis. So those things are there. So people can fight against the government. Those people can fight against their own clanmen. Those people can fight in the name of ethnicity. That is why in Nigeria, a Nigerian is an enemy to a Nigerian, because you speak different language, but the same race, the same citizenship. You have different faith, but the same race, the same citizen, the same. Is a disgrace, it's a calculated insult in the face of the most popular country on the continent of Africa, and unfortunately, they are now fastly going down in the name of political attention. So let's see. Another, please again, Gabon. What a sad news. President Ali Umar Bongo has reduced the presidential term from 7 to 5. Good. Soundly good. But it is because for unscrupulous reasons. The current constitution limits him to contest for another election. I mean the previous constitution, because it has now been amended. The previous constitution prevents him from contesting for another presidential election, because it is 7 years per term, then 2 years. When he knew that this is the final straw on his presidency, what he did, he amended the constitution and reduced the presidential term from 7 years to 5 years. Arguably, it is good, by which he had eliminated himself from politics. Instead, he decided now to run on the current constitution, which will give him another power to even rule the country for 10 good years. Meaning he will be 74 when this current constitution will prevent him from contesting another election. This man has suffered stroke. He is medically or physically not fit to rule the country. And the Bongo dynasty or family has been ruling Congo for 55 years. His father ruled Congo for 14 good years. He took over, and this is the 41 years he's now ruling Congo. He's so old, 64, he has suffered stroke. Now he has amended the constitution, and now he's running for another term in office. Elections are actually due in the country in the later days of September. That is in 5 months' time. What a calculated insult. The opposition, on the other hand, are failing to form a coalition in which they can adequately maybe defeat President Ali Bongo. But because they have not formed opposition, single-handedly now they are crying foul. That constitution give him the power, the current constitution give him the power to run. And what he did, the previous constitution had absolute majority. But because he knew that his last election into office, he had 5,500 lead, which was very, 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 very slight on the opposition. But yet it gave him the absolute majority or majority to rule the country when it was contested for the second round. So having realized that, he has now changed the constitution to a simple majority. It's like first past the post system. So even with a single vote, he can be declared the winner. Then he eliminated the second round of election, meaning Ali Bongo will definitely be elected. And most of his MPs are definitely also going to be elected on the simple majority. So you see how crafty, how criminal our politicians sometimes they become unscrupulously. He has amended this constitution and he has sought his win and cap races. Now he has the opportunity to continue living into power. Definitely this dude will end up to die into power. It's a calculated insult. And today, what normally hurts me, what goes against my feeling, what makes me to condemn the UN, AU, ECOWAS and other people, especially like SADC, that is the South African regional organization. They will sit down. A constitutional coup has already taken place into Gabon, and President Ali Bongo has satisfied himself. In fact, he has already won the election. Trust me, he will definitely win this election. If we were to run another program in September when the election will be going on, definitely Ali Bongo will win the election. Because based on the current term of election, based on the current term or patterns of their constitution, the manner in which he has patterned the constitution and given him the absolute right to definitely win the election. So it's a slap in the face of democracy, it's an assault on democracy, it's an assault on the tenant of democracy, on the political tenet of democracy, but yet African leaders are so sad. UN is watching all of that until when crimes take place, like if a military seizes power now, they will condemn it, they say it's an illegal government. That was the same thing that happened into Guinea. People were sad, cheated, nobody communicated, nobody talked. Unscrupulously, Alpha Condé amended the constitution. Nobody suspended him. Only when the military came in, they took over, they suspended the military. We also saw what Blaise Compaoré was doing to Burkina Faso. Nobody talked. We also saw what Amadou Toumani was doing into Mali before the coming of IBK Abubakar Keita. Nobody spoke. And when the military took over, they started to complain. We are now seeing how Africa's situation is also up. So we are watching that this thing is very bad. And luckily enough, both Liberia and Sierra Leone, I think they respect their own constitution. And I believe we are going to live up to expectation and set brighter example come 2012. But what without it, without a coalition into Liberia, without a coalition, I doubt if whether President George Mana Oponweya can be upseated. I'm really seeing a very close, tight election. But if there is no ground coalition being formed against him, do not almost always underestimate the power of incumbency onto the continent. Although you may think and feel that Oponweya has failed in a lot of fields, I agree based on the rating, but you also have the playing field. And the politicians are unscrupulous, they have the means, and you all know how the Liberian society is. There is poverty, there is illiteracy, there is ignorance, and politicians are capable of buying votes. We are now seeing we need the dynamics of politicians to be converged together. We need our human resources to be gathered. We need eloquent democracy, very clean one. We need politicians who have the tendency to do good things that are good. We don't need to be changing politicians always like diapers. Unfortunately, they have not lived up to expectation, and our democracy is definitely not helping situation. And because of lack of coalition into most of our African states, these are actually becoming very difficult. Even when you watch at most of the African countries that have actually succeeded in doing away with the current system, when the people think that the system is not working for them, those who actually managed to form coalition, those who did not, they have never won any election. Unfortunately, we are not seeing anything better like that going into that direction. Then we saw that when John Mahama was actually actually only run for a single time into Ghana. It was out of a grand coalition. Without a grand coalition, it is very difficult for just a single party like that in Africa to just win election. So let's come back into North Africa. Into North Africa, migrants actually living under a climate of threat and fear. Since Kais Said, a politically unknown person, a law professor came into power, he suspended the constitution, sacked the parliament, handicap or crippled the executive, make the judiciary to be surrounded or to be employ the judiciary yes men. He is now involved into hate speeches, and he also makes some inciting messages on social media. His latest attack are against Sub-Saharan Africans. Now they are living under threat and fear. On several occasions they have been attacked, they have been molested, their properties have been set on fire, some of them have been raped, and some of them even hardly come out on the street to even look for their daily living. Even those who are in Tunisia in the name of education, seeking higher education, their life are actually our threat. And typical Tunisians who are black in complexion are also afraid, and Africa is silent. Africa is watching that situation like this. It is a very rough situation into Tunisia, and Africa is watching at it with a very keen eye, and hope and pray that AU intervenes swiftly to ensure that things like that are actually prevented. Although Kai Said is denying inciting, he's claiming that anybody who is going to be caught creating harm or inflicting harm on these people, they are definitely going to be taken to court. But nobody has been prosecuted since. Africans have been crying, Sub-Saharan Africans have been crying. Burkina Faso have taken theirs, Malians have gone for theirs, sometimes they go Guineans went for them, for their own. Ivorians also evacuated some of their citizens, and the situation is deteriorating on a daily basis. So we are afraid, but we have to confess that things are actually going at a very fast and bad rate into Tunisia. Finally, let's end our program in Ethiopia. We all saw what happened when Amhara, Afar, and Tigray were fighting. How the security situation in Tunisia has vastly deteriorated. Now, the people in Amhara region are being disarmed, or the government is saying that they should dissolve the Amhara regional forces for them to be integrated into the Ethiopian federal force. And also the Tigray region need to be disarmed and integrated into the federal force for them to have a single army for Ethiopia. Unfortunately, what they are saying here now, people in Tigray have not fully disarmed themselves. And before this time, all the war in Ethiopia is happening between the Afar, Amhara, and Tigray region. But this bitter war is being fought against the Amhara and the Tigray region, because these people have involved themselves into struggle for power. In the latest war, the people in Amhara region have actually claimed a place in the Tigray region, especially an agricultural place. They are claiming to be their own. According to them, at all cost, they definitely have the land, while both are claiming ownership. So what the Amhara region people are saying, should they disarm, people in Tigray region are definitely not going to disarm, and they will be given the opportunity. They will have the advantage over them to attack them at any time, maybe seize some of their land. But the federal force is saying that they are going to ensure that there is perfect disarmament, demobilization, and integration into the of those forces into the Ethiopian national force, or the federal force of Ethiopia. But protest now is definitely in Amhara region against that absolute attempt by the government to dissolve their regional forces. They are claiming that they could be attacked, especially by the Mekele government, that is the capital city of Tigray. And Tigray also share borders with Troubleshon under Asaya Ifikwete, Asmara, or Eritrea. And when you watch at Eritrea, it's one of the dangerous regions or countries into the world, where journalists hardly come out. If you speak anything against the the sitting government, you are definitely going to lose and loss for life. So the situation is a bit difficult, and this could easily throw back Ethiopia into another war. But luckily enough, the Afar region is under the auspices of the government. And normally it is the Afar, the Amhara. We are actually fighting against the Tigray. And Tigray have been fighting war against Amhara, Afar, and the federal forces, that is Ethiopia. So, as long as there is an agreement between the Tigray or the TPL, the Tigray Liberation Force, or the Tigrayan Liberation Force, and the Ethiopian government, maybe Prime Minister Abiy Ahmed will now have that mojo, the power, maybe the courage, the strength, the philosophy, the mentality to come with the Amhara, Afar, to negotiate with them to see how there is a perfect, or how there could be a perfect disarmament, demobilization, and integration into the force of Ethiopia. Now, with this disarmament and demobilization and reintegration can take place, then most of those people from Amhara can easily be sent to the Amhara region. Those from the Afar region can be sent to the Afar region, but under different hegemony. They shouldn't be seen now as defending themselves. But that is the problem with federation. Normally, there is loyalty to state government more than the central government. So sometimes the central government appears so weak, while the state government will be so strong. So you are now seeing different loyalty, and it is merely based on ethnicity. The Tigray people under Haile Selassie gain a lot. They think and feel that they are the one that actually liberated Ethiopia. And we all know how Ethiopia was definitely liberated. And if you see like Emperor Menelik and others have very greater history into Ethiopia. So if you read those histories, they are so perfect. That is why the people in Tigray think and feel that they should be the one governing everything about Ethiopia. But unfortunately, because of urbanization, changes in democracy, full liberal democracy is now over. We are seeing a lot of other things are definitely happening. So we are afraid, but we have to confess that the situation is not to a perfect one. But they are on course of having a stable democracy. Maybe peace is definitely going to reign into Ethiopia, and we are hoping to see a very perfect system when we be maybe making a glamour for Addis Ababa. We all know Addis Ababa have a very strong history into Ethiopia or into Africa as a whole. If you think about OAU, Organization of African Unity, you think that it is Addis Ababa. And some history or some school of thought, philosophy will tell you that Ethiopia was never colonized by any other country in the world. And if you think about how Ethiopia perfectly defeated places like Italy, they still watch at Ethiopia to be one of the stable democracy in Africa, areas where civilization started to take place in all the way. We have Ethiopia even about, not civilization actually started to take place in places like Egypt, because Egypt is along the Nile. And if you read about history, there is no Nile, no Egypt, no Nile. But when you chase about, like if you are talking about the stages of man development, if you talk about the proconsul, Homo sapiens, they will tell you that these people have greater origin. They will tell you that the origin of man begins in Ethiopia. So we have greater things, and Ethiopia is in the Horn of Africa. We are seeing a lot of things that are actually happening that are definitely not good. But we are praying and hoping that it retains its peace, it respect at the hearts once more, so that we can also have a very perfect one. I have a single message here. Who are usually the coalitions? From Jeremy Gunmen. Who are usually the coalitions? They are usually failed, or they usually fail and ousted politicians who usually preach being reborn. Liberia is a classic example. Former vice president who failed his people is now supposed to be a reborn. Go figure. That is what he's saying. That is an opinion. It's not the opinion of Focus on Liberia. That is a perfect opinion. Thank you, Jeremy, for that perfect summation. It's been me, Edward Amara, Focus on Liberia, West African correspondent, coming to you with the latest development on Africa. We see you tomorrow. Thank you. Good night.